Hello everyone, my name's Nigel Haddon. I'm one of 4 members of Mosaic. Each of us took the lead during 2024 in posting a series of short coffee break videos looking at 4 reasons why law firm mergers fail. Those issues were accounting, valuation, culture and due diligence, and each of us took the lead in one of those. My particular area of interest is culture, and exploring why culture can negatively impact law firm mergers took us back to a recording which we put together a couple of years ago, which we in Mosaic call Wolf Shark, for reasons which will become clear in a minute, but which was posted on our website under the title Why Law Firm Mergers Fail. In this little playlet, you'll see my colleague Tom Blandford playing a chair or facilitator of early stage merger talks between 2 law firms. One of them, called Wolf Shark and Co Limited, is led by CEO Howard Hackney, a thrusting, somewhat brutal and businesslike law firm leader. The other firm, with an almost identical turnover, is called Puppy Dog Kitten and Co LLP, and their senior partner is played by Mark Briegel. The characters that the 2 law firm leaders play are exaggerated. The characteristics and cultures of the firms that they represent are exaggerated, but only a little. We've all seen talks like this, and we found that when we looked at the video again, it was every bit as relevant today as when we first recorded it. So enjoy Wolf Shark, and thank you for watching.
Another video by Mosaic, but not a coffee break video. Instead, today we're going to take you through a presentation on why law firm merger discussions fail. And we're going to do so, he says, crossing his fingers, with a little bit of a role play, a little bit of a case study in why and how those merger discussions might fail. So just to remind you, my name's Tom. I am the founder of Sursum Advisory, which works with a variety of law firms on a variety of strategic finance projects, particularly M&A that we're about to speak to, but also bonus schemes, forecasting, valuations, tax structuring, really anything as long as A, you're a law firm, and B, it's a strategic finance project.
Hello, I'm Howard, and you can see details of me on the slide there. Basically, I do special project work for law firms and family businesses, and only special project work. So I don't do any audit, I don't do accounts preparation, I don't do any tax returns. So that means I'm very happy to work alongside existing advisors to my law firm clients. And the typical size of law firm is probably 1 to 50 partners. That's the typical size that I tend to act for.
And hello, I'm Mark Briegel. I'm a partner at Bennett Briegel. We're a niche law firm providing services into the professional practice sector, predominantly law firms, but also IFAs, accountants, etc. And I do an awful lot of M&A in the legal sector, plus restructures, partners in, partners out. Previously was on the management board of the top 200 law firms, so know the joys of this, was involved in some mergers, and prior to that worked in industry, so have a wide background in that, and have worked with Howard and Tom and the Mosaic team for many years now.
We're going to introduce you to Wolf Shark and Co Limited and Puppy Dog Kitten and Co LLP. The 2 details of the 2 firms are on the screen in front of you there, and you can see that there are several bits of the firm which actually are very similar indeed. Fee income, for example, is identical. But conversely, there are some things within the 2 firms which are wildly different. So, for example, profit per equity partner at Wolf Shark is £250,000 per partner, whereas at Puppy Dog Kitten is £125,000 per partner. I should say at this stage that these 2 firms are totally fictitious, although a little sadly, what you are about to see is based on some of our experiences, and actually much of what we're about to talk about we have seen in real life. My colleagues Howard and Mark would also, I'm sure, like me to note that in a moment they will be back in character as the CEO of Wolf Shark and the senior partner of Puppy Dog Kitten. They will not necessarily be representing the views of Howard Hackney and Mark Regal when they are in character. Howard, Mark, wonderful. Thank you very much for joining us today. Howard, perhaps you'd like to introduce yourself and maybe explain how you got to the meeting today.
Yes, hello, Tom. Thank you, and good morning. Yes, I'm Howard Hackney. I'm the CEO of Wolf Shark & Co. Limited. Got here by chauffeur. The chauffeur dropped me off and then took the Bentley off for a service. It's time for a service, getting a bit long in the tooth. It's about a year old now. Time for a change, actually. Frankly, only just got here in time, though, because of the roadworks. It's nothing like as good as Liverpool city centre.
Thank you. And Mark, perhaps you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us all how you got.
Yes, good morning, Tom. Good morning. Yeah, I sort of drove the trusty old Land Rover to the local station and struggled in on Northern Rail. Yeah, we always go second class because it's unfair to pass those costs onto clients. I often think that if the trains were like this in the southeast, there'd be riots.
Thank you, Mark. So, Mark, we know that you and Howard have had sort of preliminary discussions about a merger. Mark, perhaps you'd tell us how those discussions started.
Yes, absolutely. You know, Howard and I were at school together. We've been friends for many years, and we were having lunch actually together at our club one day, as we do. And I think Howard and I would agree that we're different, but we complement. I'm sort of the intellectually one, a bit brighter, but I've always admired his entrepreneurial streak. And sort of he was a year older than me and a prefect at school. Everybody in the profession is discussing mergers, and we thought it'd be a good idea. We complement each other's skills, and then we've got the geographic reach, and there's synergies, which is the key word everybody's using now. Of course, there's differences between our two firms, but our attention to detail and our intellectual rigor in the way in which we practice law would really benefit Howard's firm. Although there may be a short-term hit to profits, but it'll be good for both.
Yes, a short-term hit to profits. Thank you, Mark. Howard, perhaps you could share some insights about how the discussion started.
Yes, very much so. Mark and I have been friends since school days, and on the back of that, we were having lunch at our club together. He was always a lot brighter than I was, but needless to say, I had the entrepreneurial streak, and I was a year ahead of him, and I was a prefect, and I think Mark actually looked up to me, and probably still does. Everyone in the profession, though, is discussing mergers, and we thought we were like-minded firms, which make a really good fit. There'd be cost savings, there'd be cross-selling opportunities, and we were stronger in some areas that they were weak in. So, for example, we were stronger in company commercial, while they were stronger in family law, and we see a niche in family law we would really like to get into. Profits would increase almost immediately as a result of the merger. And then finally, there was the extension of our geographic base. We're based in Liverpool, and they have offices in Manchester and Cheshire, and that would just help cement our strengths in those two locations.
I see. Thank you, Howard. An almost immediate increase in profits. Wonderful. Thank you. Howard, perhaps you could just tell us a little bit about your firm.
Yeah, we've got one office in the centre of Liverpool, which services the northwest of England and a smattering of clients down in London. We operate as a limited company, and we see ourselves as running a business, and that's why we run as a limited company. We're a specialist niche firm focusing on company commercial, banking, IP, and a small but growing and important will, trust and probate department with a small family offering to service those clients. Fundamentally, though, we're deal doers. We just like to get things done and make things happen. Founded in Liverpool, and I'm a Scouser.
Thank you. And Mark, please tell us about Puppy Dog Kitten.
Well, we've been around for 150 years. My father was senior partner before me, and my grandfather was senior partner before him. We've been around a long time. We have 3 offices, Manchester, Liverpool, and Chester, and we operate as an LLP, which we believe creates a collegiate culture, which has been part of our success, and very much a full service offering, including company commercial, wills, trust and probate conveyancing, both residential and commercial, family law, bit of crime, some personal injury, anything that our local clientele want. We make every client think that they're our own client. We were founded in Manchester at the height of the cotton boom, and I myself am based mainly in Manchester, but as you can see today, I'm in one of our more rural offices.
Thank you, Mark. And that's the end of part 1 of our conversation about why law firm mergers fail. Tune in soon for part 2. And that's the end. So welcome back to part 2 of our conversation about why law firm mergers fail. Just to remind you, we're in conversation with Wolf Shark & Co. and Puppy Dog Kitten, both firms played beautifully by my Mosaic colleagues, Howard Hackney and Mark Briegel. The firms are totally fictitious, but also are based on our real life experiences. Thank you, Mark. And perhaps you could explain how your LLP shares its profits amongst the partners.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we're a collegiate practice, and we recognise that each partner has his or her strengths and weaknesses. But one has a good year, the other has a bad year. It balances out over time, and that keeps the culture. We have a high fixed share. We take about 70% of the profits, and the fixed shares are all equal. Yeah, if you're a partner, you're a partner, and that's it. We do have an elected remuneration committee. We understand all of this, and I sit, but of course, as senior partner, don't have a vote, and we can allocate up to as much as 10% of the profits to specific partners based on their performance. But we don't normally do that because we don't think it's necessary, because actually using appraisal and profit allocation can be really quite divisive. The rest of the profit is paid out as a dividend, after year end. We give people monthly drawings based on a fixed share, less tax. And in addition to the 10 equity partners, we've got a number of fixed share members of the LLP, which obviously has some tax benefits.
I see. Thank you. And Howard, is that similar to how you share your profits at Wolf Shark?
Well, not exactly. We're very much an avowed meritocracy. We have annual appraisals of partners against SMART objectives, which we set at the start of the year, and up to 40% of our profits are actually allocated based on meeting those SMART objectives. We do have a fixed base share to allow partners to have monthly drawings on which they can meet their living expenditure, but that's based on 40% of their expected profit share and is determined based on what we believe is their market value, their market worth, what they would command salary-wise in the marketplace, or what we would have to pay a replacement who wasn't a partner. And then the final 20% is paid out by way of a dividend based on the underlying equity ownership. I'm responsible for the appraisals and profit allocation, but I realize that's a bit dangerous if it's all in my hands. So I have a senior partner who I use as a sounding board and who is also a sounding board for the partners as well. Monthly draws, as I say, are based on the fixed share. And we too also have fixed share partners in addition to my 5 equity partners. And we have those fixed share partners for the tax benefits and the national insurance savings.
Okay, thank you. And Howard, you mentioned your Bentley earlier. How does the partnership go about managing its car fleet?
Oh, that's really very straightforward. Partners can have whatever they want, so long as they fund it themselves out of their profit share. And our profit shares are high enough for me to be able to have my Bentley. And I do recognise I'm a bit of a car nut. And we then religiously complete weekly expense claims, claiming 45 pence a business mile, because that's very tax efficient and exactly what the revenue would expect. Partners all have dedicated parking spaces in the courtyard. It's one of the perks of becoming a partner. As I say, I really love my Bentley, but it is getting a bit long in the tooth, nearly a year old now.
What about you, Mark? Do you have a fleet of cars for the partners?
Well, yeah, we do, because again, benefits for partners. So one of the benefits being a partner in a law firm is the car. So we place all cars through the practice, and we're very generous. Partners can have whatever car they want, up to a maximum lease cost of £325 a month. Any excess they obviously meet personally, but if they go for something smaller, they they get the benefit there. We claim 80% of it as a business expenditure, and I'm absolutely sure we could find some records to justify this if HMRC actually asked. They agreed this percentage 20 years ago, and we just stuck with it. We're not that good at keeping mileage records, but it doesn't really matter. But in keeping with our client service mantra, we have limited car parking space outside the office, and that's absolutely for clients because they go first. And so we've got some spaces in the NCP down the road, and getting in a few extra steps is good for us. I'm not so much interested in the cars as Howard, but I know that's his thing. My old Land Rover, it might be 10 years old, but as good as the day I bought it. I was contemplating going for something electric. I've heard Teslas are good, although I'm slightly worried how that would go down with the clients, and especially the farming clients.
Okay, thank you, Mark. And you mentioned obviously the cars there, but perhaps, Mark, you tell us more generally about the financing of your firm. How do you manage that?
Well, we run it well. We finance ourselves as a practice. We don't like to borrow. We don't like being reliant on banks or third parties. What banks are like, blowing in the wind. Some partners, those without the trust fund, do have to borrow to provide their capital. But this is also proving more difficult, as we find out. And certainly, we also need to finance goodwill, which is effectively some latent WIP. So, as I said, we recognise goodwill between the partners, and some of my oldest partners are obviously expecting the younger ones to come through and pay them out, and to pay them exactly what they purchased it for in the past. And this is causing, I have to admit, Tom, a little bit of friction, as it's difficult to fund. We draw what we can afford, and I think one of the things we can bring to the merged firm is this discipline over drawing. And just in terms of properties, we've got a series of 7 SIPs, mainly through the partners, but also some former partners and actually some deceased partners, beneficiaries under their estates. And it's slightly complicated, but it works really well. There's some great investments, as we've got some prime spots with our property portfolio.
So thank you, Mark. So well invested and entirely self-financing. Howard, is the same true of Wolfshark?
No, not at all, Tom. We believe in using the bank's money. Why use our own money? Let's borrow it when we can, although we do recognise it's increasingly difficult to borrow from the banks. We mainly need to borrow at the time of our annual draw, which we take 6 months after the year end, of all the balance of our profits. And we also need to borrow to meet our tax liabilities. And at that stage, our gearing goes up to 1 to 1 by the time we take partners' borrowed capital into account. We don't recognise goodwill. Partners come in and go out naked, as they say. And we do include WIP in our accounts at a fair open market value. As far as our property is concerned, we don't believe we're property investors or know anything about the property market. So we rent our building on a 10-year lease with a 5-year break.
Wonderful. Thank you, Howard. And that's the end of part 2 of Why Law Firm Mergers Fail. Tune in soon for part 3. Welcome back to part 3 of Wolfshark and Puppy Dog Kitten in conversation about why law firm mergers fail. Thank you, Howard. So, Howard, we've spoken about finances and profit shares and the car fleet. Howard, let's turn our attention to staff. Perhaps, Howard, you tell us about your staff and how you motivate them.
In the context of meritocracy, we aim to employ the best, but they must be self-starters. We're not carrying any people at all. They've got to go out and get the work and do the work. But so it's the best we employ, and we pay accordingly. We provide clear billing and chargeable hour targets to all of our staff and partners, and pay bonuses based on meeting those targets. We appraise regularly, not just once a year, and counsel out the poor performers. And bonuses can be as much as 40% of salary, but are always self-financing as a result of meeting stretch targets. KPIs, we issue those on a monthly basis to all partners and staff, and we clearly do a mixture of carrot and stick. We name and shame those who are meeting their KPIs, but we praise those who actually are meeting their KPIs.
Thank you. So, Mark, naming and shaming at Wolf Shark. Tell us a little bit, perhaps, about how you motivate your staff.
Absolutely. I'm in agreement with so much of what Howard says. We have KPIs too at Puppy Dog Kitten, and we circulate those to the heads of department and the partners quarterly. So that's going on. We look, our collegiate culture is very important to us. We're friendly and we're supportive, and staff are our biggest asset and our future. They've been with us a long time. Mike's secretary, Beryl, used to be my father's secretary when he was senior partner. And, we pay maybe 10% above market rate to get the best. Generous pensions, sick pay, paternity policies. We look after our staff. We think bonuses can be subjective, but we pay them, and every Christmas we've always given out a staff bonus, sometimes up to 2 or 3 weeks salary to everybody. We think the light touch performance targets that we have encourage team performance. We get people bought in a group. It's really key. And in fact, this year, Tom, we're bidding to be included in the Sunday Times Top 100 Employers list.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations or good luck with the bid. So tell me, Mark, that sort of collegiate atmosphere you're describing, how does that translate into staff turnover?
Oh, incredibly low. Very few people leave, sort of under 5%. Most staff come to us on recommendation. Either they know our staff or they know our reputation, so our recruitment costs are very low. Most of our partners started as article clerks or trainees. We don't have a lot of lateral hires, a few, because obviously people want to join us. But by having our culture right, getting and maintaining good staff is not a problem.
Thank you. What's staff turnover like at Wolf Shark, Howard?
Well, we have a high turnover of staff, perhaps 25%, and that goes along the lines of having to recruit the best, wanting to recruit the best, and cancelling out the poorest. It does regrettably mean we have high recruitment fees, but we do think it's worth it to actually get the best people to help move our practice forward. It is a shame, though, that we can't always keep the people that we want to keep, but many of our fixed share partners are also lateral hires, where they really worked at getting the rewards that they felt were due to them in the firms they were at, and where they didn't like the culture, perhaps sleepy firms where they didn't feel they were being properly recognised.
I see. Okay. So Howard, if that's the sort of the staff, what about the management structure of the firm? How does that work at Wolf Shark?
Well, we have a 3-man, and I mean a 3-man management committee. I'm elected every 5 years, and I appoint 2 professionals who happen to be fixed share partners to assist me, a chartered accountant on the finances and a chartered marketeer. And the chartered marketeer has made a huge difference to the growth that we've been able to achieve. Not so sure about our chartered accountant, though. There is an elected senior partner who acts as non-executive chairman and a sounding board.
Thank you. And Mark, obviously you're the senior partner, but what's the rest of the management structure at Puppy Dog Kitten?
Well, yes, I am the senior partner, and according to our LP agreement, I have to be elected by the partners every 5 years. I've been senior partner for over 15 years now, but no one ever seemed fit to bother with that. I work within a strategic framework and an annual business plan. We understand this, and the partners, we have our annual offsite, and we go through the business plan and it gets agreed. And within that framework, I manage our monthly meetings. We've got 5 heads of departments, 3 sector heads and 3 office leaders, as well as the FD and the head of HR, and they're both fixed share partners. Some of these roles overlap, but the management meeting has 9-10 people in it, and we kick stuff around, and we sometimes even have an agenda.
Okay, thank you. So Howard, how do you actually manage the practice on a day-to-day basis?
What do you mean, Tom? I just get on with it and tell them what to do. No, I jest, I'm sorry. Of course, I can't ride roughshod over my partners. So we have a formal partners meeting once every 6 months, followed by dinner at a Michelin-starred restaurant. where historically Liverpool have always had more Michelin-starred restaurants than Manchester have. And of course, the cost of those meals are all tax allowable as business meetings.
I see. I actually meant whether you managed it by department or by sector.
Oh, I see what you mean. Heads of departments meet with me monthly on a one-to-one basis to assess how they and their departments are performing against budget.
I see. And Mark, how do you practically manage the day-to-day?
We're really into these sort of modern management structures and techniques, and we have a matrix management system, with heads of departments, sectors, disciplines, office leaders, and the functional disciplines, finance and HR. And I meet with them all monthly to address issues and they sort of get on with it within the business plan and strategic frameworks. If there's any issues, someone lets me know, I go and have a chat to them, it works perfectly nicely. And the equity partners, obviously, we meet monthly, we have a sandwich lunch round the boardroom table and we kick stuff around, works very nicely.
And Howard, how do you market your existing practice?
Well, as you see, we've had significant growth over the years, so marketing is absolutely vital to us, and we put a lot of time and effort into it. We're focused with a clear marketing funnel and targeted clients of those that we want to act for. And our professional marketing directors made a real difference, added real value. We have a state-of-the-art CRM system where we're regularly in touch with our clients and potential clients. And we use PR consultants who regrettably, you know what PR consultants are like, we have to change every 2 years because they lose interest after 2 years. But those PR consultants have clear targets to get a mention in the 2 local papers, the Echo and the MEN, get a mention every 2 days, and a mention at least weekly in Business Insider and the Business Desk, with a focus on deals and deals that we've done, because that really marks us out as something different. Partners have clear targets built into their appraisal and profit sharing, and we focus on profitable growing clients who we can charge at least £100,000 per annum, before regrettably they tend to outgrow us and move on to a national firm. Of course, introductions from banks and accountants are important. I think we're recognised as the leading firm locally and get a lot of those introductions. We've flirted with pay-per-click, but not sure that is really worth it with our target market. But Twitter, we are active on Twitter, and that has managed to get us to the top of the Google rankings.
Thank you. And Mark, what's your firm's approach to PR and advertising?
Well, we've been around for over 150 years, and people know where we are. And obviously we don't take it for granted, but the work comes to us. Clients have come to us for generations. We act for people when we acted for their parents and grandparents. Huge amounts of repeat work. Obviously, we do have a huge will bank, which is massively important to us. But we know everybody in town. They know us. We attend the events. We sponsor the local theatre. We sponsor the local rugby union club and take people to that. We flirt with bits of PR on an ad hoc basis when we've got something to shout about, new trainees or whatever. We've got a number of good long-term clients who certainly are worth at least £50,000 a year each to us. And crucially, we get a lot of introductions from the local banks, accountants, estate agents, IFAs. People know us, people trust us. They refer work to us, they come to us. All this stuff around social media and pay-per-click is a bit of a mystery, really. I think we probably could look at that, and maybe this is one of the benefits of a merger with Howard's firm, that we can learn from that and see if it actually does bring any benefits.
And that's the end of part 3 of Why Law Firm Mergers Fail. Tune in soon for part 4. Welcome back to part 4 of Why Law Firm Mergers Fail with Wolf Shark & Co. and Puppy Dog Kitten & Co. Thank you. So in the first section, we talked about sort of finances and cars and properties. In the second section, we've just talked about managing the firm. Perhaps more widely then, what do you perceive as the sort of strategic reasons for the merger?
I think, to be frank, Tom, we have an aging partner profile, and we've got some senior partners who've been there for a long time with large capital accounts who are looking to retire. We are struggling to find younger partners who want to take on the responsibilities of partnership, even within our lovely LLP structure, and certainly in particular to fund what they would need to pay the outgoing partners for the share of goodwill. So, in addition to sort of what we can bring and what Howard can bring, we see succession as a major driver behind this merger.
I see. And Howard, sort of the nuts and bolts to one side, do you perceive a strategic reason for the merger?
Oh, absolutely. We need bench strength to get economies of scale. We've invested heavily in compliance and systems in particular over the last few years. And the level of that investment means that we could cope with a far larger firm as a result. And we really want to spread that cost across a higher level of turnover. So that's what we're looking to do. And tie that in with increasing our PEP. I've mentioned we are increasingly, we are avowedly elitist. We're looking to increase our PEP. It's the only way to grow the firm and take the firm forward is to have high PEP to bring in more partners, especially in a highly competitive market. And a merger is the quickest and easiest way of doing that. And we see significant synergies to drive the profitability forward.
And you use the word merger there, Howard. Do you think this is a true merger?
No, of course it isn't. There's never a true merger. We say that it is, but in reality, we are the stronger party and we're acquiring them. As they're really a somewhat sleepy firm and have not capitalized on their strong client base. And we really want to get stuck into their clients where we can probably double their fees overnight and hugely enhance our profitability.
I see. And Mark, do you think it's a true merger?
Howard and I have sort of kicked this around over the club, and actually it's one of the few areas where I might actually disagree with Howard, because I mean, yes, as to what is a merger is fine, but I mean, we feel that in many respects we're the stronger party here. What they need is our culture, which they don't have, and they need our history and our respectability in the market because of what we've been. So we can bring all of that and sort of help them with maintaining staff and so on, and therefore, is it a true merger? I don't know, but I think what we bring to the party is more important in many respects.
And Mark, talking of history and respectability, has there been any discussion about what the name of the new firm will be?
Oh, that was one of the things we we kicked off whilst we were still on the first bottle, and we agreed not to fall out over it, and going by initials is obviously the trendy thing to do, so we're going to be WSPK & Co. LLP.
LLP, I see. And Howard, have you any thoughts on the name?
Oh, absolutely. Mark and I are absolutely at one over this. As he says, we agreed right at the outset not to fall out about the name. So the name is going to be WSPK & Co. Limited.
See. And also, Howard, in the future, under that new name, how do you plan to manage the new firm?
Well, we recognise this is potentially a bit of a difficult area, but we agreed that I will be CEO as opposed to managing director, and Mark will be executive senior partner responsible for strategy, which, dare I say, is what those approaching retirement tend to take responsibility for, and I think Mark is the ideal person to look at our future strategy. After that, it gets a tad difficult. I plan to have two of his young guns on a management committee, which I must admit I'm going to struggle to cope with that, but I'll go along with that. Plus, I really like Mark's FD. Mark's FD, apart from being really attractive, is very effective. And my marketeer is absolutely vital. That's fundamental to taking it forward. HR director, not sure their HR director really brings much to the party. So I think regrettably we'll probably have to let them go.
And Mark, how do you foresee managing the combined firm?
Well, we won't allow sexist attitudes like that to creep through for a start, but we do recognise that this is a difficult area, and I'm comfortable to take on this role of executive senior partner, whatever Howard calls it. But I mean, effectively, we're going to be splitting this equally according to our skills, sort of joint managing partners, senior partners, whatever you want to call it. And I think, you know, our culture is the right one. So I don't want to disturb things too much. I think I agree. I'm happy to cut down the size of the management committee. I certainly need my HR director because, you know, they are absolutely key to keeping that. By way of compromise, I might let the FD go. You know, she is very good and will find a role elsewhere. But I really don't think we need their rather blunt marketing director. We can really do without that. And I think we need to have at least 3 elected partners, members, whatever, on the committee to keep that culture and engagement and involvement. You know, after all, it's not a dictatorship.
Thank you, Mark. So you mentioned possibly having to let the marketing director of Wolf Shark go. Do you expect that there will be many other redundancies?
Well, yeah, I mean, we don't like redundancies, obviously. But, yeah, our FD, we can help find something else, their marketing director. And I think, you know, there's probably going to be a couple in the merged accounts team because of, you know, economies of scale, etc. But, you know, the culture of the firm is very dear to us. And, you know, the growth that comes from the merger will take up any slack. So we shouldn't need to do anything. You know, we've got some very, very long-standing staff, you know, not just my secretary Beryl, and, you know, a duty to them.
What about you, Howard? Do you expect to have to make any redundancy?
Well, I regret to say the old phrase, you can't make an omelette without breaking eggs. So regrettably, yes, I think we do have to make redundancies, probably about 10% across the board. And I do recognise the awful effect redundancies can have on morale. So I would be cutting quickly and deeply, right, almost at the outset. Within the first couple of weeks of having done a deal, I'd be making those sort of cuts with a view to avoiding multiple rounds of redundancies and then giving security to the staff moving forward. Very clear looking at the stats of Mark's firm that they really are overstaffed. Their chargeable hours are way too low, and there's clearly some fat to cut and assets to sweat. And obviously the back office is going to be a key area to look at.
I see. Fat to cut. Howard, thank you very much. Mark, Howard, thank you both, in fact, very much for joining us today and for discussing where you are with your merger conversations on behalf of Puppy Dog Kitten and on behalf of Wolf Shark. I suspect my 2 Mosaic colleagues are going to break character now. But for our viewers at home, I just like perhaps things you might want to think about is if you were advising the 2 firms, would you recommend a continuation of the talks? And putting that to one side and putting aside geography and technicalities, which firm would you personally rather join as a partner? 2 things to ponder, perhaps. We said right at the start that these are fictitious firms and that my 2 Mosaic colleagues were very much in character and doesn't necessarily represent their views. But what I would also say is there's no right or wrong here. There are 2 very effective practices here, each with their own advantages, but also each with their own challenges. We have marginally over-dramatized some of the issues to make the point, but probably not quite as far from reality as you might think. Mark, Howard, I don't know if you have any closing remarks you'd like to make?
I think only from me that we have overstated it, particularly some of the sexist comments and the such like, for which I apologise, or my character apologises, should I say.
I think your character wouldn't apologise, that's the problem.
I think you're right. But it's not that far from reality. We've all seen many situations like this where, frankly, as advisors, we've had to say, don't do the deal. But at the same time, there are many deals that have been successful over the years, usually where both parties recognise who is the stronger and who is the weaker party.
Yeah, and what they're bringing, and yeah, the synergy is one of these great things. I mean, I remember, yeah, from my sort of MBA days that 70% of mergers failed to deliver the synergies that they were expecting. And the other thing is, as Howard and Tom know, I always have to quote Peter Drucker, you know, sort of every day. He was a great management guru who said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. And I think, you know, the point we're making here is that there is no right and wrong. If the culture doesn't work, you've got a real problem, even if the numbers or the geography say it will work. So yeah, that's the key message.
And with that, thank you both for your Oscar-winning performances, and thank you at home for watching, and tune in soon for the next Mosaic Coffee Break.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.